This is a tutorial on estimating by rounding. We might want to estimate by rounding when we are out in everyday life and we run into precise numbers, but we just want a general idea of what those numbers are going to do, maybe for cost or distance or time. And we also might want to estimate by rounding or just get an estimate in order to see if our answers that we got on a math problem are generally in the right vicinity, if they would be expected. Helps us, it's sort of a way to verify our work. So the way we do this is pretty simple. We just round off any numbers to one significant figure and then perform the operation. So I'm going to just take you through a few examples of this. You can see here example 1, we have 387 times 62, and we identify the number in the highest place value out of 387, which is the 3. The 8 tells us to round that 3 up, so we just round that to 400. And then we do the same thing for the 62. The 6 has the highest place value, so the 2 tells us to keep the 6 where it is, so we just round that to 60. So now we are just rounding multiplying 400 by 60. And I like to do this by just multiplying 4 times 6, which is 24. And then I've got 3 zeros that I add on to the end. Though I did this written down, you could do this in real life just by looking at it. Notice that 387, that's pretty close to 400. So just round it up to 400. 62, that's pretty close to 60. So in your head, you're just doing 400 times 60, which is 24,000. Example 2. We have 5,211 divided by 18. Let's do it sort of without looking at the, just think about which thousand is 5,211 closer to, 5,000 or 6,000? Well, that's 5,000. So we're going to divide 5,000, and then the 18, round that to the nearest tens, which is 20. So 5,000 divided by 20. So I'm going to just make sure that you can do that without having to see it written. We want to be able to think about that in our heads. But also we can write it. We've got the 5 in the highest place value. The 2 tells us to keep it at 5,000. We've got the 1 in the highest place value for 18, and the 8 tells us to round up to 20. So 5,000 divided by 20. Here again, you can just think about dividing sort of for the moment. I like to set aside the zeros and think about 2 into 5 or 2 into 50. Well, 2 into 50 divided by 20 is, 50 divided by 2 is 25. So that can sort of help us get a general idea of what our answer is going to be. 5,000 divided by 20 is 250. So again, 250 is an estimate of that. It's not the exact value, but it's going to be approximately the value. And then our last example here, 8.72 times 0.344. We do the same thing. We look at the 8. The 7 tells us to round it up, so we round that to 9. Times, in the highest place value in the second number is the 3. The 4 tells us to keep it where it is, so we just have 9 times 0.3. Here we can just multiply 9 times 3, which is 27. And there's 1 decimal place among both of those, so you have 1 decimal place in our answer. Again, 2.7 isn't our exact answer, it's just an estimate. And it helps us to either estimate cost or distance or whatever, or get a general idea of our answers in the right vicinity. And that's estimating by rounding.